and gentlemen, welcome to TJI. My name is SCBD and it is lovely to have you here. And you are now experiencing our first ever episode, which is called, I'm going to repeat myself now, it's going to sound very strange, but it's called Not Ready. I know, right? It's a little strange. But yes, we have opened up a new segment within TJI, the Jesus Initiative. And this segment is essentially going to be mostly speaking to single parents, whether it be a mom, a dad, a grandparent, a foster mom, adopting situations, just anyone who is basically in the space of raising children. And sometimes it doesn't actually need to be raising your own biological children. Sometimes it can look like raising children within a church environment or within an organization or within just a little community or a neighborhood that you're in. So thank you for tuning in. And today we are sitting with my friend, of how many years now?
Let's do the math. 2019.
7 years.
7 years.
2026. That's 7 years. 2019.
7 years,
7 whole years. We were pregnant 6 months apart, which was, I don't even know if that was like a blessing.
It was, yeah, because we were able to relate and understand each other and what we're going through. It's something, it's better when you can talk to somebody who relates to what you're going through.
Yeah, and I remember we threw your baby shower
at your place.
At my place. Yes. You were like 6 months at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was heavy.
You were heavy. You were like 8. You're almost there.
Yeah, I was almost there. It was almost there. October? Yeah, end of October, and I gave birth December, yeah.
Yes. And I remember that day. It was such a lovely day. It was hot.
Yep.
That's what I remember. I was boiling from the inside out. But we threw in a little, surprise little shindig for you. And tell me about that. Like, how did you feel that day? Just out of curiosity.
I wasn't entirely surprised.
Okay. You think like the signs were there?
The signs were there, yes.
Okay.
My sister had a baby shower cake for that week, right? I think that was maybe the cake didn't give it away. I didn't think much of it because she usually gets like such orders. What gave it away was my shoes and my dress were missing. Then my memory was still sharp. I didn't have mom brain yet.
Yeah. So you're picking up these signs like,
yes,
something's missing.
Yes. I think because we had just bought that dress. So it was still like on the top of the shelf in the cupboard. So when it wasn't there, I was easily able to notice that, okay, my dress is missing. And then my shoes as well. Then I noticed that there's a pair of kitten heels that's missing. I was like, something is shady.
Something's going on here.
Yeah, we're going to, but happy vele.
My mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to my
mind. Of all places
to my
also,
mind.
but like, yeah.
And then I was like, I see these ones. I think they're clever. And I was like, okay, maybe it's happening. Maybe it's not happening.
Yeah.
So let me, just to be safe, try to
manage your expectations.
Yes. So I was expecting it, but also just allowing myself to not be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Yeah. So I wasn't entirely surprised. I kind of had an idea that, okay, I think I'm on my way to my baby shower.
Yeah. No, that was lovely. I think the biggest thing for me that day was Sam, who was your driver at the time. Shout out to you, Sam. He kind of missed the street type of thing, so he was about to go through the back.
Oh yes.
And then obviously that's where we are at I was so scared he was gonna like drive past and you're gonna see this big tent there
and all of the faces that I know.
I was so scared. I'm like,
how
she's gonna figure this out.
Like, that was gonna be
I'm just like, I'm busy calling Sam, like, you turn around. Turn around. Go back. You missed a turn. Yeah. So that was the funniest. That was the funniest part of that day. But besides that, it went really well. Yeah. And fast forward that time now, it is the 16th of December. It's your birthday.
Yes.
And basically Khosi was supposed to be your birthday gift. Essentially, you were supposed to be born that day. You started feeling your contractions and the heaviness of it all. You're in and out of hospital. And also it's during COVID, which was the worst time. So you experienced a lot of things by yourself, you know. I remember you told me your sister had to leave you at the gate.
Yes.
You know, and you had to walk in by yourself and wait for hours on end, trying to get someone to help you. I remember sitting with you and we're having this conversation. It was so heartbreaking at the time. I remember you like broke down a few times.
Let's not do that today.
I know. We're not gonna get into too much details, but come the 19th, you basically were in labor for 3 days, which is insane to think about. I was in labor for about like maybe 14 hours, and I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know if I could have survived 3 days. That is quite insane. And just to give you the rundown, she goes into the hospital by herself, and you know, you're waiting a doctor's attention. Nurses are coming in and out, but they're not really bothered to check how dire your situation is, and you have to kind of like beg for their attention, essentially, to check you, to, you know, give you an update on what's happening. Is a doctor coming? And also you guys land up in like this room, right? Of just everyone is in pain, of birthing moms.
Everyone is in labor. Yes.
Everyone's in labor. I mean, I can only imagine how frustrating and painful that must have been for you. And we talked extensively about that pain. And there's a song that you kept singing. What was that song?
Reason to Praise, Bethel Music. Yes, that was the song.
Talk about it. Like, what was it about that song? Maybe you could even share some of the lyrics just to help us understand. Like,
okay, so it goes. I'm not gonna sing it. I'm gonna speak it. Okay, so it says, "You're the God of the breakthrough when I'm breaking down. You're making a way through when there's no way out. This one thing I know, you're still on your throne. So whatever I'm feeling, I've still got a reason to praise." Yeah, but I think the whole song, like all the lyrics of that song, I looked at them last night and I was just like, wow, this is so powerful. And at the time, I don't think I even realized in that moment, like, what I'm doing. Because essentially it was just to surrender the situation to God, to be like, yo, I don't know what's going on right now. And no matter the outcome of this, no matter what happens, no matter what I'm feeling, no matter what I'm going through, you're still God on the throne. You're still the same. You're still good. And I still have a reason to praise. And no matter what happens from here on out, I'll still have a reason to praise you. So yeah, in that moment, I was just surrendering the situation to God. I didn't realize it at the time that's what I was singing in those lyrics. But I was singing that just to distract myself. And I was praising actually to distract myself. But then when you actually listen to the lyrics, and I realized this is actually what I was saying at the time, and that's definitely what got me through.
That is so amazing, because I think when I was going through this labor situation, I was so upset with everything and everyone in the room. I remember starting to listen to music, and I was listening to Elevation Worship, Hillsong, all these songs that are like my favorite sort of like songs. And eventually I got like so irritated, I threw my phone away. Like, this thing is so loud. Get it out of my way. And when the doctor came into the room to tell me that I need to get a C-section, this is something that I never anticipated.
You didn't even want it.
I didn't want that. I wanted a natural birth, right? And when she came in to explain to me, yo, this is what's happening, we're gonna need to do an emergency C-section, I was so pissed at God. I was just like,
excuse me.
I was like, there's no way. Like, you know, I've been preparing myself for this thing, and you could have warned me, you know what I mean, that this is what's going to happen. And I remember hating my birth story after that, because I felt like I failed as a mom, type of thing, right? And oh man, so like church music at the time or anything music related, it was the opposite for me. I just kind of threw it out the window type of thing. But you're just going back to the healthcare system in South Africa. And it's something that I think we often ignore. I'm just only aware of South African stats right now. But according to the SA stats, it says that the maternal mortality rate in South Africa is approximately 100 deaths per 10,000 live births, right? And just listening to your story about how essentially you were neglected the entire time, you know, right up until the very end when you now needed to like push. And obviously in those moments you can feel something is going on, you can feel that you need help, right? But there's no one there. You keep telling the nurses, hey, like help me, like something's not right, and they're just like, no, you're okay. Oh, you're just being dramatic or whatever, you know. But you're like, dude, I need a doctor. Like this is actually really bad. But eventually as time went on, somebody came and they're like, you need to like go now.
Yeah. And the go now was C-section now, emergency C-section as well. Yeah, that's what they were saying. You need to go. It's an emergency. You need to get you into theater, take off all your jewelry. I had like these bangles. They're metal, so you can't go into like theater with any metal things on you. So I had to like take them off, take off all my clothes. I was being put on that gown, that hospital gown and everything. So it was an emergency. I needed to go into theater. However, 3 hours later, I wasn't in theater. I hadn't given birth. I'm still just in pain and not getting the assistance that I need.
Yeah. And then eventually
it was like, yo, I'm pushing, like now it's time. Like, yeah.
Wow. Like, and I remember you telling me that there was no fluid left.
Yes.
So literally he was dry when he came out. Strange.
Yeah, the nurses
which
was
is not
surprised.
normal,
yes.
by the way. And a baby in that situation wouldn't be able to survive in those conditions. But for 3 hours or probably even more.
My water broke at some point during the night before that day. It broke, and then from that point on, with every contraction I was losing more fluid. So imagine if I'm having contractions on the minute, like literally. So by the time I gave birth, he was dry, and they were like, whoa.
And I will sing of the goodness,
dude,
of God,
literally,
because that you can't explain.
You can't explain
how both of you survived, especially Khosi as well. But here you are, you have a bouncing ball of joy.
Sure.
Mr. Khosi, who is a handful.
Yes.
And he is his mother's son. So he also has and carries your attributes and your attitudes and everything.
No,
I think so.
Girl.
I think so. I mean, he's a little bit louder than you. Because you're generally very quiet, you know, and kind of reserved. He's more
he's
out there.
He's out there.
And all of this you're experiencing, you're going through it by yourself. You're alone, you're a single mom, and you found God 100%. He literally showed up for you in that hospital room with those hundreds and hundreds of women around you. But he still covered you.
Yeah.
And a couple of months down the line, baby's born, everything's going good, and you go to church. You went to CRC, right? And I remember you kept inviting me as well to come through, and I remember feeling very anxious about
going to church.
Yeah. I was just like, ooh, mega church.
Oh.
Yeah, I was not used to like big churches back then.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna, just keep going, right? So you get into the church now, you find God, your pastor's pastoring. By the way, your pastor's pretty powerful. It's pretty good. What's his name again?
Pastor Art.
Pastor Art, yes. Pretty good guy. And I remember a couple of months down the line after you started, he singled me out of like a crowd, which was so intense. And, you know, we went through the whole application process at CRC Church. But I think that moment of just being seen by him, and that was through your invite. We invited me to your church. And there I was, you know, I think I was responding to an altar call or something.
Yes, you responded to an altar call, yeah.
And as I'm standing there, he like literally like points at me, like he starts, you know, basically portraying a message straight from God of like, God is actually looking for you. And I remember that was such a powerful moment. Have you experienced one of those like really powerful moments where God, even in your motherhood, right, where you can see that God is actually reaching out for you in this space of, first of all, isolation, because you're not raising a child by yourself. Yes, there's that shame and that guilt of having a child out of wedlock and all of that stuff that comes with all of that. And on top of that, there's relationship issues, you know, that have kind of like come out of the woodwork when you fell pregnant, all of those things, all of those dynamics. Like, when was a pivotal moment for you where you were like, besides the hospital, where you were like, I need to go and revisit this God and go back to him and go back to this altar?
I think for me, it would be the night that I gave my life back to him. I think for me, that will always be like the pivotal moment where I felt like, definitely this is God speaking to me, reaching out to me, calling me back to himself. So how I gave my life back to him, I was alone in my room, middle of the night, still pregnant. So I was going through the most, is what it felt like at the time, because everything that I held like highly, I felt like I was losing. Being the relationship that I was in, being my independence, my freedom. Those things that I felt like, that made me feel like, you know what, I've arrived. I'm at a comfortable place in my life. I felt like I was losing all of those things. And I guess that's what made that so difficult at the time. To have to go through that alone. But I wasn't alone. Well, physically, I was alone in my room. And God spoke to me. And I essentially just prayed and I gave my life back to him. But I think it was in that moment because, you know what, ne? It's different when somebody has like been in the church and they go to church, they hear the word, and maybe they're like lukewarm Christians. I wasn't even that. I was completely against church. I would say I'm not Christian. I was anti-Christ. So that moment for me was so pivotal because I don't know how my mind just switched from being anti-Christ to being God. Like, I surrender. Like,
it was literal surrender.
It was literal surrender because like it was literal surrender. And I don't know what could have even sparked that. Like what causes a person who says they're not Christian to suddenly pray and be like, Jesus, I give my life to you, you know? Yeah, so it is really in that moment where I feel like God was really there and he was calling out to me and it was like, yo, come home.
That is a work of God.
Yeah.
You know, like those just unexplainable.
Yes.
There's no way this could have been any other entity but the one of Christ, but the one of God and the Holy Spirit doing his work in your life. And I think I just want to move towards forgiving yourself now. You know, Josie's born and now you're going back into the church. At some point you started serving. You're still serving, right? You're in the media team. What do you do actually there?
So I serve under broadcasting. So our team, we do comms for the broadcasting team. So it's a bit difficult to explain because we're not just like one station. So there's different stations within the comms department. So you'd either be stationed in the media room or you'll be stationed at stage, or you'll be at the sound box with the sound and the lights team. or you're doing your QCing, like audio and visual around the church, right? So basically what that is there's like a central place of communication to communicate like what's about to happen next. We give time calls, we give service orders so that everybody where we're stationed is aware of what the service order is going to be like and what's happening next, and then we can all prepare. If I'm at stage, I need to communicate with the band to find out who's on which instrument, who's on which mic, who's leading which song, and then basically that information will be used by the sound team at the sound box. They know, okay, this is the mic that we need to increase for this song. The media team knows, okay, this is where the camera needs to focus on, this is who the camera needs to focus on, that type of thing. Yeah, so we just do comms. So we just gather data information, then we share it in a central place, and then everybody else knows what everybody else is doing.
Whole production.
Yeah.
So what we see online is basically
your work,
it's
comms, coordinating that, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you got into that. Now you're serving in the church, right? I remember you told me once where you were, I don't know if it was like a practice or something before the actual Sunday. And you guys were doing setup, and then Khosi just runs up on the stage.
Oh my goodness.
Things like that. Like you're trying to manage, you know, working and serving and also being a parent all at the same time.
Yes.
And I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, how did you manage to forgive yourself for, first of all, going against God's will for your life, right? And I think that's a thing that our parents also kind of, not parents, but sometimes our pastors and elders and sometimes even parents actually, that sort of like project on us, you know, at some point to say, you're not, you know, especially when you have evidence of sin, right? So being pregnant outside of marriage, which is obviously not a God calling, right? How did you manage to integrate yourself back into the church like that and get to the point of serving while also navigating forgiving yourself in the all at once? And then there's also this reminder when your kid runs up the stage like, oh, if you wasn't here, you know what I mean? This wouldn't be happening, type of thing. Because it's something that I kind of struggled with in the beginning as well, where I'd always sit at the back of the church, and because this is a church I grew up in as well, and I know how hectic my church can be and the people in my church can be, especially when you're coming back and you're a single mom and it's like, oh, you went to the world, you messed around and you came back type of thing, right? There's always that narrative that sort of like sticks, you know? How did you navigate that whole thing of trying to win forgiveness, trying to be forgiven, trying to forgive yourself, but there's also like these little reminders of where you've been?
So I was out of the church for a long time before going back. I think the last time I went to church was with my grand. I was probably still in primary school. So that's a long time. That's a long time. And the only other time when I was in church is because I went to a Christian school. We didn't have a choice but to attend services on Sunday, pray, sing hymns at school and that type of thing. So I think for me, my mind, I didn't have that wiring per se where it caused me shame to be a single mom, right? It wasn't like a big thing for me, right? Obviously, it's wrong that you were involved in something wrong, and he becomes like the product of that, right? Sure. But it wasn't like a heavy cloud weighing over me, right? I think what was more heavy for me to carry, where I feel like I still need to forgive myself, was the fact that I wasn't just, like I said, I wasn't just like a lukewarm Christian. I was actually anti-Christ. I would have conversation with people and I would discourage them in their faith. Like, this makes no sense. What do you mean this? So that was the hardest thing for me to come to terms with, that I have been forgiven for this. This is like a terrible, like it's blasphemy, right? And God, in his infinite grace, has still chosen to call me and forgive me. So I feel like there is that thing where somewhere out there is somebody who's now questioning whether God is real because of a conversation they had with me, you know? So that's the one thing that I felt like was like really heavy. And every time I remember the devil will use it to try and even like discourage you, like, oh, you now all of a sudden this. But what it actually does, it reminds me of God's grace, that like, even though like that, I feel like that is the worst sin, right? To blaspheme against God. He still forgave me. He still gives me grace. And through that, I honestly can't say I've fully forgiven myself, because I remember it and then it's like, I struggle with it. And then, but then I remember that God has forgiven you. Like, you are separated from that. Like, you're a new creation, as far as the East is from the West, So yeah, that's the one thing that I'd say was difficult for me to navigate coming into the faith. And it's something that unlike having a child or the shame of the evidence of sexual sin, it's unknown to people. Like, I can walk around and people don't know that Faith is struggling with this, right? Yeah. So yeah, that was one thing. But with my son, I think the one thing that's difficult is that when I first found out that I was having a child, it did not feel like a blessing. Like, I felt like the worst thing ever is happening. Like, what? This is like the worst thing that can ever happen to me is to have a child, and now I'm having a child. Like, what? And people are telling me, oh, such a blessing. And I didn't believe that. It was hard for me to believe that. And then that's the guilt that I carried, that I didn't believe that this is a blessing. And I think it's a difficult thing to talk about, especially if you're not talking to a mature Christian, without sounding like you're encouraging or like giving props to them for having a child. But God works in ways that we don't understand. We know that sex before marriage is a sin. That is the sin. And that's where God is grieved, like when you're having sex before marriage, right? Sure. And not when you have a child. Because now when you have a child, it's just the evidence of what you were doing, right? And now who are you ashamed towards? Everybody else. Wow. What about God? God was there in the room with you. When you were doing what you were doing behind closed doors, we weren't there, but God was there, and He's grieved. He's grieved, right?
Literal goosebumps. Like, okay.
God is grieved when you're doing that. But the fact that you have a child shows God's grace and mercy, because a child is a blessing. Yeah. How are you being involved in sin, but God still says, I'm going to bless you with a child? That's wild,
like, right? Something great is gonna come out of this sin.
Yes.
It's gonna come out of you, even though you are engaging in something that literally grieves God, but He still continues to bless you, because even the art of pregnancy itself,
you don't have any control. You don't have control. You can't choose to be pregnant.
Miracle in itself. Yeah. So
you don't play a role in that. You literally you're a vessel, and God is using you to bring forth this life, and that's a blessing unto you, even though you were engaged in.
Wow. And I think this even reminds me of something a friend of mine once said, Tabang, maybe a couple of months ago, last year, where he said, do you think God is with the prostitute in the street? As they wake up, go shower, prepare themselves, wear that skimpy outfit, go out there at 7:00 in the evening, stand on that street corner, get into that car, go into that person's house, engage in whatever they're engaging in, and then she comes back to the house, showers, goes to sleep, and repeat. Do you think that God is still with her in those moments, or with him? Because it can be anyone, And I said yes, because that sounded like the good answer to say, like, yes, But then he went on to explain, to say, yes, you're right, your answer is correct, but I don't think you understand how with her God is. Ever since Adam, received the breath of God in the beginning of time, we are still living with that same breath. So literally she or he is still with God as they breathe, as they inhale, as they hyperventilate, doing whatever they're doing. Literally, God is within her. God is within him. Within that process, he's in this room right now. He's literally in you right now as you breathe in and out. Hence we call him Yahweh, because he lives in our breath, quite literally. And so there's still that, covering that prostitute would still have on her life, because she literally is able to come home every day. She could have been murdered or yes, she'll probably experience some kind of pain every now and then, but her life is still intact because God is still showing faithfulness towards her, still showing her that he is with her with each and everything that within whatever situation, each and every day, whatever situation, he's constantly there. And I think that was a reminder which gave me kind of like these goosebumps to say, God is with you within the sin. God is with you outside of the sin. God is with you while you're grieving your sin, while you're trying to repent, while you fall, while you get up. He's still with you consistently. And I think the idea of God still blessing you within that period of rebellion as well, to allow your body to conceive, which is something he explains in Jeremiah. I knew you before you were formed. And so he already knew that Khosi was going to come through you. He didn't like the circumstances of how he was going to be born, but because God is a God that is constantly trying to bring us home. He's constantly trying to pursue us since the beginning of time, since we fell the first time when Adam and Eve did their thing. He's still there, still trying to bring us, back. And he blessed Adam and Eve with children, even after their sin. So it's that kind of situation. And I'm guessing, I'm wondering, was there a time that you did not want to serve at all? Like, was there a time, or do you get periods in time where you're like, I don't want to go to church today. I don't want to go do media production today. I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to go to work. I don't like those moments where you're just exhausted and you just want nothing to do. What do you do in those moments? Yeah.
I do go through that. Moments where I feel like, sure, I don't want to do this here, as you put it. I think for the most part, it becomes routine. So I think, it becomes routine before before exhaustion is routine, like where you're just doing things out of routine and you've like kind of not necessarily lost the love, but that fire that you had that led you to sign up to serve and all of those things, you it's not burning anymore, right? And then now you're just doing things out of routine. So then after the routine phase, then now it becomes the exhaustion where even just to do it out of routine it's now difficult. You can't even just be on autopilot anymore. Now you literally need to force yourself to go. Sure. In that, I think the thing that keeps me going is, firstly, I have made a commitment, right? I have a responsibility to uphold the commitment.
Right.
And I need to think about how everybody else will be affected by my decision not to show up, right?
Sure.
Yes.
You're better than me. If I'm too tired, I'm not showing up.
Are you serious?
Nah, I'm gonna sleep. Girl. I'll send a text like, yo, I'm sorry.
Don't do that. Are you sorry? Are you
Mm.
sorry? Because I'm sorry is like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting ready, I'm coming.
Yeah, but you do get those moments where you just want to shut down. Like
you do.
Like it's painful.
It is painful. It is, but there's something that pain is power if you allow it to like shut you down, right?
Yeah.
So there's always that. You need to remember that, no, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Right now I feel tired, but the Lord is my strength, and those are literally the things that I have to say to myself sometimes in the morning. Remind myself, the Lord is my strength. If I decide right now I'm not going to wake up and go, who is Lord over my life? This situation that I'm facing is now becoming Lord, and I've dethroning God, and I'm saying I'm tired because 1, 2, 3 happened, and that's why I'm going to continue sleeping, or I'm not going to show up, or I'm just going to send that text. So you literally, I have to remind myself that like Jesus is Lord over my life. And if he is Lord, what does it look like for the situation that I'm currently faced with?
And then, and I guess, because this week we're talking about rest, right? And restoration, and also prioritizing, just having calmness within your life. I think also you're navigating being a mom, you're navigating, church. Also, you have a career. And by the way, she's so good at everything. She's like a hairstylist and makeup artist, and she does clothes, and literally I'm wearing her stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're also, because I've watched you over the years, you are able to spread yourself like quite thin sometimes, and sometimes it gets to you, like where, you know, certain commitments you can't fulfill because you're tired, you know. And I think last year was one of those examples where you took 3 months to do something for me. Yes, I'm still upset about that, but you're my friend. I love you, and I understood, because there's a lot of things you're doing all at once. You're running a career, you know. Every Sunday you have to show up, every day you have to show up being a mom. Don't you not like experience burnout? Like, is that like not a thing?
No, it is. It certainly is a thing. I don't know. I just push through it, Shemi, as I don't know. I don't like to give things like power over me. So when I do acknowledge that I'm burnt out, and I pray, I always like surrender it to God, and I let God know, like, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm burnt out and I'm tired about this. And then I just keep going, I keep showing up. There's something that was mentioned at church so this week we've got prayer and fasting at church, right? I was serving on the Tuesday, and when we were there, and our leader was just thanking everybody for showing up for serving, and he was reminding us that in the Bible, God says when he who restores others is also restored himself.
Yeah.
So it's in that where we find like, we find restoration, we find like refreshment in being there to refresh others. And also it's just something about seeing somebody else's need that makes you realize that maybe in Kalangit, like people are going through a lot more, and you get like a more broad perspective of life and how hectic it can get, and that right now you need to lean into your strength in Christ and keep showing up, and God will restore you, refresh you, and he's faithful, so he does that.
That's true. I think that is something I'm also trying to figure out as well, because I also find myself spreading myself way too thin at times. I'm traveling, I need to do A, B, and C, and that's why I get those moments where my body just shuts down and I just don't want anything, and then I have like this attitude of I'll apologize later, you know, type of thing. But you're also teaching. I know. And I think I'm learning today that actually responsibility is important. It's also important for you to communicate, I think, even beforehand, because I do have a tendency of communicating like on the dot, like I'm supposed to be there at 12, or communicate at like 5:02, like sorry, you know. But there needs to be that respect as well for your craft, respect for the things that you've taken responsibility for, to say, okay, I can't show up right now, or maybe even if you don't feel like doing it, just do it. Maybe you might find the strength, you know, and ask God as well to be sort of like your pillar in that time. Do you think you'll be able to find love again, by the way? Just a quick one, just last time.
I do. No, I'm trusting God for a husband. Yes, I'm definitely trusting God for a husband.
Do you feel pressure, like pressured to do that, like to give Jose like this home, mom, dad, like situation?
At some point I felt the pressure, I think last year, because I was 29, about to turn 30. So the pressure.
Hit the big 3. Oh, I'm like 2 years behind you. I'm almost there. Well, 3 technically, but yes.
Yeah. So I think last year I kind of did feel the pressure. And in that, I don't know what it was. I feel like when I first got saved, right, which was, 2021, my focus was just on God, and everything else just like fell away. It wasn't anything that I need to put like effort into to be like, no, stop thinking about boys, stop this. I had a completely new mind, and it was easy. It didn't even feel like anything that I'm sacrificing, because it wasn't something that was like, leave boys alone, you know. No, it was so easy. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. Yeah. And that was when
you saw someone pretty, you were like, he cute. Because she was so anti-men for like 2 years or something, or north of
there was, okay, maybe let me say the first part was me being anti-men because I was still hurt, and then God healed me, right? And then in the healing, it wasn't like, okay, now I'm healed, now men come. No, I still had a time where I was healed, and then I was able to live my life without caring whether or not this happens for me, right? And then suddenly there came a time where I did care, where it was like, okay, God, like, okay. it's like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I've been patient. I've been not even trying to talk to you
Yeah.
about this. It just hasn't even been a thing. But
I
now
think,
it is.
Yeah. I think that's good though, because you also gave yourself time to heal. I think
Yes.
sometimes us as women, we don't give ourselves that opportunity. I'll say that for myself. You know, you're trying to jump into the next relationship, or you're trying to do the next thing, you know, to try and fill that gap, whatever. But for you just decided, no, I'm good. And you gave yourself that time, that opportunity to actually properly process those emotions, process the new that's coming in, the new that's unexpected, that you're not ready for. But
even
God,
myself, yes, the new me,
the new you, exactly.
Because you're a Christian, you want to marry a Christian,
yes.
So it's not only about you finding the person that's right for you.
Yeah,
you also need to be right for this person. Like,
we're not always only the victim.
Yeah. You also need to be right for this
Yeah.
person. And if you want a Christian, this is a child of God. So God is not just gonna put you with somebody that is his child that he cares about when you're not ready for it. Because you're also gonna do damage to
I
them.
never thought of that. Yeah.
So it was a lot of trying to make sure that I'm also like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm at a place where I've genuinely made God the center. And even going into a relationship, and when I say I want a God-centered relationship, I have also genuinely put God at the center.
Mm-hmm. And I think last words as we wrap up, what would you say to a mother right now who is about to go through this journey of motherhood by themselves, doing it all alone? And by alone, I mean sometimes complete isolation. There's like no mom, no dad, no aunties. You know, I know it's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I'm only asking this mainly because I'm that girl, you know, who kind of went through it kind of like by herself. What would you say to somebody in that position? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, now it's vibrating. Okay. That's a tough one. But what I would say is, what do you feel like is missing? What you feel like you don't have, what you're looking around trying to find and you're not able to get, because you feel like you don't have those people around you to offer you that. The answer is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He is the source of life. He is the source of everything, and he is close to the brokenhearted. So what I would say is, he's the answer. Bring it before him, and also put yourself in a position to be helped, right? Because we were here on earth, we're people.
Sure. That's a big one.
God uses people to help. God uses people to bless. So you also need to put yourself in a position that other people can help and be there for you. Find a church. Okay, you're in a church.
Yes.
But like, find a church, a Bible-centered church, a church that is like proper Christ following, where you won't receive judgment, you won't be like, there won't be shame for the situation that you're going in, and there are genuine God-loving people who are there and that can help you. We look around the world trying to find stuff, and we don't find it because we're looking in the wrong place. Like, Jesus is the answer.
That's true. Thank you for that. And I think I resonate so much with that, because that's literally what I've done. As much as my actual family members are so far apart, like Eastern Cape, Cape Town, all of that, everyone's just like really far. But I think I've also built a little bit of a community within my church, which is something that I think God has heavily blessed me with. I stopped now looking at the things I don't have, but more on the things that he's actually given me, you know. And it's been a journey. Literally the whole idea of it takes a village. Literally my whole church is helping me raise my son, you know, which is such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Feifei.
It's a pleasure.
It's lovely to have you here. Please don't lock yourself inside the house again. That's maybe like Get a lanyard or something.
I need something. I need that AirTag.
AirTag, like put it around your wrist or something. Because this girl nearly didn't show up because she locked herself up in the house.
The devil was working overtime, guys.
You know, the devil really is trying his tactics. This is definitely for someone out there, and obviously he's working hard for that not to happen. And but we serve a good God. We serve a living God. We serve Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for us. Who is here to invite us into salvation. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I think we just need to constantly hone in on who Jesus Christ is, because he only wants the best for us. Shame is just but a word. It is not real. It is not something that God gave to us. Fear is not something God blessed us with. He gave us love. He gave us family. He gave us friends. He gave us himself as well to hone in on, to lean on. And I think that is the message here today. Just lean on him. Lean on me when you're not strong. Hey, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for tuning in on Called Not Ready. This was a beautiful interview with my good friend Faith, and it's been an honor to have you here. Thank you. And to the rest of you, see you on the next episode. Bye.